All right, another ATV to be saved. So this is 2012 400 Polaris Sportsman. Bought this one, paid 1,500 bucks for it. It does run. It just needs a bunch of little things. So yeah, it's got like, I think it's like 3,000-ish miles on it. 500 hours. Yep, 3,300 miles. It does seem to run fine. It does drive. It needs a bunch of little things. I mean, first of all, obviously, front storage box lid needs replaced. It does need a bunch of CV shafts. We've got, see right there, a bunch of torn boots on the front and rear. For sure needs a front and rear. Might need all fronts and all rears. Another thing I've noticed on it is if you rev it up, we're getting the battery light to flash. So that is either an indication of undercharging or overcharging, which the fact that I'm revving it up, it's likely overcharging. Typically the culprit is this voltage regulator right here. So we're gonna figure that out, put some CV shafts in it, recover this seat, fix this storage box, a bunch of little things. So let's get on the lift and get started on this thing. Okay, so we're gonna test the stator on this thing. So I've just unplugged off the voltage regulator. These three yellow wires are the stator wires. So these things send out an AC voltage to the voltage regulator. That regulates it into a 12 volt DC to the battery. So these things on all three terminals, you should have continuity across any one of them. So I do have continuity there as well. You should not have a connection to ground. So if I go to ground, okay, good, no connection there. So this means that our stator is fine. Check this one too quick. No connection there either. Okay, so the stator's fine. There's no real test for the voltage regulator. Pretty much pop in a new one and check. So these things, when the battery light comes on, it's usually when the battery's seen over like 16 volts, 17 volts. And I've seen these things put out up to like 20 volts before when the voltage regulators are bad. So we'll swap that thing and then check some voltage. All right, just like that. Old one's out, the new one's in there. We're charging the way we're supposed to again, showing right at like 14-ish volts revved up and steady. So that's fixed. Let's tackle this front rack storage box here. So on this year of Sportsman's, like the 400, 500, and especially the 570s, these storage racks are horribly designed. So this whole thing pivots on these tiny little plastic pieces, which pivot in this little metal bracket. There's like a little plastic dowel pin that goes in there, and these break constantly. Like, whoever designed this, I hope they don't work at Polaris anymore, because this was just the dumbest thing. They take no weight at all, basically takes nothing to snap them off. But the nice thing about it is there's a pretty easy fix for it. So if like your storage box is fine, they make these little aluminum brackets that slide kind of in there like that, and then they'll screw in and basically replace that. So then they'll pivot on these little aluminum brackets instead of the plastic. So in this case, you know, it's like 15 bucks for a set of these compared to, you know, maybe 200 or 300 bucks for a whole storage lid. So we'll install some of these things and get this lid put back in place. So this is that bracket. If you've got a little bit of the remainder of the hole left, you can line them right up, which works pretty well. Sometimes though, these things are just completely gone and you kind of got to guess where that little pivot point was supposed to be at. And then these come with some little self-tapping screws and then a little bolt for the pivot part there. So we'll screw some of these in there and see how this thing fits. So that's how these things install and everything. So I've got the little pins in place, and now we've got a pivot mechanism for this lid again. So another thing though, is the latches are shot on it, but we've got some new latches for them. These are pretty simple. They basically just kind of rivet in place and stuff. So install some of those next, and then kind of finish some other stuff up on this thing. So this is one of our little replacement latches for this thing. I just drilled out the old rivets there. So then basically this one, we'll rivet that in the same spot. And then we'll have some brand new latches on this thing. These things you can pick up on eBay and Amazon. They're usually like 10 to 20 bucks for a pair of them. Incredibly common. It's the same size one basically on this body style Sportsman. as well as like the 570s, the 850s and stuff. Anything with one of these rubbery latches, they're all the same. Okay, we're gonna tackle some CV shafts. You can see on this rear one, that boot's torn real bad. It's got all this crap in there. This one's clicking really bad in the rear. So signs of symptoms of a bad CV shaft other than a torn boot is usually clicking. So if you're slow speed turning, that's when they like to click. This right side appears to be fine, so I don't think we'll need to mess with that one at all. So pretty straightforward on these. Pull the wheel off, unbolt the arms and the hub and stuff, and pretty much give this thing a big yank. Well, it's just made my job harder. So I just took this bolt out here, and this plopped forward and pulled right out. So there's no balls on this CV shaft anymore. Did just pull the ring out. So I might try to get this put back in there so you got something to pull on. Otherwise, when it's just a cup in there, it's pretty hard to get these things out. Sometimes I'll take like some pry shafts and things to kind of get them to work out, but the easiest way is when this shaft is still put together, pull straight in line and give it a big old yank. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. All right, I got lucky here. So what I was doing, took my pry bar underneath there, wedged on it, hit up here with a hammer, and it just happened to break loose. It's starting to move. And there it goes. So that was kind of lucky. Sometimes these things come out, sometimes this clip in there is just seized in and it don't work at all. So that one wasn't too bad, luckily. So here's the new shaft. Got this kind of roughly in place. These will just line that spline back up. Put the nut on down here, give it a good old tap, and drive that back in place. So pretty simple on the reinstall here. Got this rear CV shaft installed back in there, so now we're gonna fix some front ones on this thing. So it looks like both the fronts are gonna need replaced. That side's torn down there, and then that one's torn pretty bad up there. So we're gonna tackle both of these. So we'll pull this wheel off first, and then this nut down here, we're gonna pop that up, get this air muff out of the way, and then start yanking this stuff out. With the wheel off, you can see what's all going on here. So we're gonna pull this brake caliper off. Basically, there's just two bolts that hold this on. We're also gonna pull off this tie rod, basically one nut there that's holding it on, and this bottom A-arm. One more nut there that's gonna hold that thing on. You don't need to worry about this strut. When you get that stuff off, this will slide out far enough to slip this axle out without having to pull any of the shock or the strut off or out of the way. Got all those pieces free. This bottom A-arm, trick on that, take a punch right there with a big hammer, give it a couple smacks, and it'll pop off. So we got this free, so this will typically slide out just far enough to sneak that out and get this shaft out. And just like that, with putting the hub back on, this thing took 2 yanks and pulled out. So we'll throw our new shaft in and then just repeat this on the other side over there. Something that's always bothered me on these Sportsmans are these side covers. They like to pop off super easy. And the annoying thing is they're ridiculously expensive still. So like this one was missing both side covers. I actually had one of them in my just random pile of parts, but this one I had to order on eBay, and it was like $120 for a used one. And it's ridiculous. Even like the previous body style from like 2005 to 2010, these panels are like $150 to $200 used on there. And it's frustrating because like they fall off so easy. So there's a big demand for the used ones, and even like the new ones are like $300 for one little piece of plastic. But if you don't put them on there, it looks really stupid. So I've got some side panels for it now. So the last thing I want to do on this Sportsman is recover this seat. This one's not terrible, but it's got some duct tape pieces covering a couple tear marks and stuff. So this vinyl I keep on hand. It's pretty simple, just to stretch it over, staple it on the bottom side. So like I said, this one's not horrible, but when selling machines like this, people always like to pick out the little things wrong with it, and the seats are always the easiest thing for people to complain about. So $10 in material goes a long ways on something like this. So I'll take care of this thing, and then we'll do a final after of this whole project. So one helpful tip when recovering seats like this is the quality of the material makes a big difference. So this material I used to just buy locally at like Joann's or places like that, but this stuff I saw an ad online. It's like marinevinylinc.com or something, and this stuff is super stretchy, which is really nice for corners and things like that. This stuff just stretches. It seems to be really high quality, and it's pretty grippy material too. So it's pretty nice stuff overall. Well, here's the finished product. So we got that seat covered, got this thing all washed and detailed up. Shined up pretty good. These blues always seem to come back pretty nice. Seems to run and drive just fine and everything. Everything seems to work on it. A few little things like that rack still cracked. Some little stuff I didn't fix, but so yeah, I paid $1,500 on this thing. Had like $300 or $400 worth of random parts in it. This thing I should easily be able to get about $3,000 out of it, so not too bad of a profit for considering, I don't know, but maybe about a day's worth of work in this thing. All right, well, yeah, follow along for the next build or project or whatever.